Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round two of the NZ Sim Racing GT3 series, brought to you by FGM ECast. I'm Stuart Brown. I'm your host for tonight. We have had a few technical issues getting things off the ground here tonight with some rookie mistakes, to be brutally honest. Doing an update on some software prior to broadcasting is never a good idea, but we got here just in time. We have just got into qualifying for this absolutely enormous field of GT3 races. What have we got here? It's showing me 46 cars. So 46 cars on the grid, and hopefully we're done with our technical issues. You will see some of the cars will start to change colour as we get into this one, as we catch up and download all of the liveries that these drivers have put together for these cars for the racing tonight. So where do we begin? At the moment, the drivers are out on their qualifying laps. They get 2 hot laps around this track. We are at Daytona International road circuit today, so not going to be lots of round and round, but certainly should be some close racing with this many cars on the track. So I must admit, I haven't seen a field this big there as the car that we're on board with at the moment. TK just lights up the screen. He should have his livery updated shortly as well. So we're going to try and keep up with the drivers as they get through this one. We do have on the bottom of the screen there the drivers cycling through. If I stick with exciting, we will get to see some things like that. So the timing there, not all that ideal for our driver. So I'm just trying to have a look here to see who has completed as the timing monitor just updates, and there's been a fair few drivers who have put in their qualifying lap at the moment. We've got David Sanford in provisional pole position, and certainly very provisional pole at the moment with a 146.08 around here. He is driving the Z4 BMW, a horrendously popular car in this category with, by the looks of it, 3/4 of the field showing me that they are running that vehicle. We've got in with that the Mercedes-Benz. We also have the 488 Ferrari, the Ford GT3 version, and last but not least, the McLaren and Audi as well. So the field is that big, I cannot actually fit it onto my timing screen. So I'm going to try and make a few changes here so that I can bring you guys the best coverage that we can as we get through, I believe, 2 heat races here of 10 laps each after this 2-lap sprint format qualifying. You will see there's only sole cars out on the track at the moment, so the drivers are out by themselves, which means an uninterrupted crack at the track. So let's see how we get on. At this stage, Shane Wallace has done a 145.91, which is this car right here, the Muzz Minion Motorsport car, and he is doing a cracking job and a fastest sector 4 there. He has been beaten, however, by David Sanford, who is back in the pits. So it's just gradually updating here. Normally we would have all this done. So what you're seeing happening on screen now is generally what a lot of we do in the preparation that we do for this one. So getting to see a little bit of behind the scenes as we get through qualifying here. So Jimmy Ball there just finishing up with a 146.43, so that currently has him in 5th. Jump on board with no, Paul's finished as well. So look, a lot of our drivers, in fact we have all bar a handful of drivers who have completed their flying laps. I'm just trying to catch up with anyone who might still be back out on track. And at this stage, we don't have anyone. No, we do have a couple of guys who have just come up on the timing screen. Okay, there we are there. We just jumped on with Carl James, who has done a 1:49.72 on his first lap. And we do have a few more drivers now. Basically the balance of the field heading out on to track to make their way through this qualifying session. See Mark Gibson, or Spud Gibson's, is showing on the screen. He is on a flying lap. Henry Thomas Kirker, or TK as we call him, is equally on a flying lap as well. At this stage, all purple for him, so looking good to propel him up towards the front of this field, which is about where we would expect to see him. Just watching for that lap to finish up there. That might be, he's done a 1:49 by the look of it, so I think 1:48.92, so that has moved him up the grid, sitting in 32nd place. Oh, James, they're just still doing a 1:49. Who else have we got out on track here? Jump on board with Rob Gibson, who is yet to do a flying lap, so we should get a little bit of time with him. Good time right now just to quickly mention the marquee sponsor for NZ Sim Racing GT3 Racing, which is rushsimracing.co.nz, or Rush Sim Racing. If you're looking for somewhere to host a fun corporate event or catch up with your mates, they put on the full gambit of sim racing for you to experience, whether it be VR or a full motion sim racing rig, or if you're just getting started and you want to try it out before you get heavily involved or invest in sim racing, then Rush Sim Racing is the place to go. So we thank them for jumping on board and sponsoring this series, and hopefully you can head down there and have a look at what it is that they offer. So with 28 seconds to go now, that is about it for qualifying. Scott Rutherford still getting around, doing his flying lap in the Audi. It's probably one of my personal favourites in this GT field. So we'll just sit on board with him and see how he concludes this lap and whether or not it can move him up the grid as well, currently with no time on record. So certainly expect him to move up. But he's just coming now through the chicane that they put into the back straight, and no, it looks like he's run out of time there. So we will jump to grid now, and this grid will be enormous. So we'll try and get through it all before the race starts. We're just waiting for the drivers to get out onto the grid. Okay, so it looks like what may have happened here is that we've actually ended up with a split grid. I was warned that this may end up being the case as a consequence of the size of the field. We'll just wait and see if that changes at all as we're getting things started. So no further drivers have come into this one at this point in time. So what we may end up with here is because it's so popular, the pit lane at Daytona is set up to host, I believe it's 46 cars, and we've actually got more than that in the field tonight. So in setting up as heat races, what we've ended up with is effectively the balance of the field that didn't make what we would call the top split or the fastest cars ending up in this second race. So we may end up with a pretty interesting setup here where we've got a very small field for our first race, followed by the full grid for the second race. Just wait to hear if there is any extra information that comes about from the race organisers. It may well be that they decide to put up another race to give the other drivers a little bit more of a go. I'm sure they didn't anticipate doing a 10-lap race with the full field tonight, but we'll see what comes of it. If you are joining us on the stream for the first time, we do appreciate it. We are excited to jump on board with New Zealand Sim Racing and broadcast this series for them. So we thank them very much for the opportunity. So do, if you can, jump on board, give us a like, and we would love to have you follow us here. I'm not sure what's going on here. I can't actually see any of the drivers on field. It says that we are gridding, but they're doing a formation lap. But at this stage, we are not able to see what's going on. And that is because none of our drivers have joined this heat. So what may end up happening here now is that the race organisers may fast forward through this session. So we will end up with a couple of minutes of free airtime here. So what I'm going to do, we did rush through our sponsor videos at the start of this broadcast. So I'm just going to jump back in and give them a bit of airtime. And while that happens, just jump out and see what we are doing with this first heat here. So bear with us, we will be back and bringing you a very full field of GT3 cars shortly.
Caleb, you must have been like 43rd or 46th. Hey, Stuart. Yeah, so what's happened is because they split up, waiting for the heat to be done.
Okay, so thanks for bearing with us there. Yeah, exactly, unfortunately, as we expected has happened. Thanks for the comment there, Mr. Ham. Yeah, it's not ideal, certainly not what we were expecting, but these things can happen. So what is going to happen from here is we will get through this this heat in a few minutes, and we'll have the main race grid up with a full grid of 43 cars for the second heat race, or what would have been the second heat race. So do stick around. We've had a good qualifying session with quite close results there. So expecting to see some good racing in the 10-lap sprint race that's coming up next with well, that chicane, basically with this track layout, they'll roll around on the Daytona oval circuit and come to a tight left-hander first. I should be able to bring up a track map for you here. And what we will do is just have a little look at how this track is expected to be. Okay, so while it is that you can't see any cars there, so for those of you who are joining us for the first time, the red dots on the track map that just has come up on the broadcast there do indicate the sectors of this track. So obviously the red line indicates the start-finish line. So a rolling start in this event, I believe, and what will then happen, which is traditional to your GT racing, the drivers will come around in a formation lap behind the pace car, and they will then go green. The pace car will pull off to the left as is normal. They'll head straight down into that tight left-hander. Now they enter that corner quite wide and come in quite tight to try and get a good run back down that straight to that first red dot. Now with 43 cars on the grid, that is going to be... yes, the safety car did win the race today. with 43 cars on the grid, that's going to be quite an effort to get all of them through that first tight left-hander clean and clear. And then if you look, obviously you're accelerating straight away down to, again, another tight hairpin on the infield where those 43 cars will compress. So it's going to be definitely one for the pole sitter to try and cut and run to get out of the way of any danger from behind, because I reckon that we might see some action back there. Around the hairpin, accelerate up to a fast sweeping left-hander before yet again another hairpin where that field will compress. And then you basically come back down a straight to a tight left-hander through a fence. Not physically through a fence. They open a gate there on the infield, and then you rejoin on to the NASCAR oval circuit. That tight left-hander that I mentioned when they are driving through a gap in the fence is, though, how it sounds. And again, if you get that wrong in the braking zone, you'll end up running wide and jumping out on the grass, and very much so a great opportunity to rearrange the front of a few $100,000 worth of race car. So we'll keep an eye out on that turn there. I'm expecting to see some action as well. We'll be back out onto the banking, so basically flat out from there, right the way around to that dot on the track at the top of the screen where they enter into a chicane that's deliberately put there, obviously, to slow the drivers down and give them a bit more of a challenge and to run around on the banking. So they'll shift down a couple of gears and then basically try and drive flat out through that S or chicane in the track. It's a little bit open, a little bit wide, so they'll should be able to carry plenty of speed through there, and then get back out and up to full speed for the run back around the banking, back round to the start of the lap. With such a short race as well, obviously we're not expecting any pit stops, only 10 laps long, so we should see a full 10 laps of racing. There's only local yellow flags in these events, which means that it just lets the drivers know that there's an incident up ahead in front of them, so that they do try and take it a little bit easy, albeit I don't imagine that many of them will in such a short race, so they'll get through that and get on with it. So that's a talk through of a lap of this circuit, and it's a circuit that a lot of people are probably familiar with if they were in the arcade scene back in the mid to late 90s when Daytona came out as an arcade game, and you'd run around and go through the infield track on one of the options and drive the NASCARs around, and that was an extraordinary. It still is an extraordinarily popular game as an arcade unit as well. I think it's still at a lot of the places you get around, and obviously based on this extraordinarily famous track in the United States. If you are watching, thanks very much for joining us. Give us a shout out, let us know where you're from. Looks like we've finally had the session advanced here, which is great. So actually we are going to grid for this feature race. So I'll quickly bring this grid up on the screen. I doubt we're going to get through all 43 drivers, albeit we will do our very best. So let's get into it. So on row 1, we have Wallace, then Sanford, Hills, Curry, Ball, Cleland, Waite, Anderson, Blomqvist, Poon, Gibson, and Smart taking out the top 12 positions in this one as we move back through the field to Corbett, Hasler, g'day Patrick, Pratt, Clive, Vu, Hermanson, Vu joining us from Malaysia by the looks of it, Therese, Bullerman, who might even be from the States, Anderson, Guptill, Osborne, Freeman, Patterson, Bryant, Donnelly, Hatton, Simmons and Childs rounding out the top 30. We've got Grant, Henry TK, Castagna, Phillips, Cairns, Scott, James, Klingon, Bevan, Beecroft, Rob Gibson, Mark Hulton, and Bailey Sweeney rounding out the 43 cars that we have on this full grid. So we did manage to get there in the end. So we'll jump on board with the pole sitter here as we are just waiting for the light to go green. We'll head around on this lap behind the pace cars. A couple of drivers who have elected to duck into pit lane at this point in time. We'll just bring up, no, actually we'll just drop that off for the minute so you can see when the light goes green. It's going to be fairly obvious, obviously, because you're going to have the pace car pull off the track and go for it from there. So this is indicating a 100 lap race. I'm not sure if that's entirely correct. It may be a time certain race, but we'll stick with it right through and to the end, obviously, as we bring this one to you. So, get ready. This is going to be intense. They'll go on the green light, this one. So just quickly, if you are watching, share the stream. We'd love it if you could like the stream and certainly engage, jump in the chat. We've got that up, we can see, and we will chat with you throughout the race there. So do let us know that you're watching and where you're watching from, and we'd certainly love it if you could support us by liking or sharing the stream and letting your friends know what you're watching on this Wednesday evening. That's actually Thursday evening. What am I talking about? Wrong day of the week. So I've just gone through that chicane there. We're not too far off a race start here. Just heading around on the NASCAR banking. I am trying to... I'm going to have to very quickly learn these drivers' names. Fortunately, some of them have run in some of the other series that we are fortunate enough to commentate on. So, but we will get there and try and give all the drivers some coverage as well. Hey there, Tipper CP. Welcome. Thanks for joining us from Auckland there. Good to know. A bit of HCC as well. Yep, we don't mind the old Assetto Corsa. But certainly iRacing being the core part of what we stream at the moment, but there will be some Assetto Corsa stuff joining our schedule over the coming months. So do keep an eye out for that. Alright, so now they're heading through that chicane that we were talking about when we were covering off the track map. So they'll be heading onto the last bit of the banking. Just following that around to the left, you can expect to see the pace car pull off very shortly. We might just try and have a very quick look at the at this big field here. Have a go at that. So you've got their 43 GT cars heading around the bank on this track. There's a lovely big mansion off in the background there. That's a interesting looking place. Imagine it's a hotel. So just watch them here as they head around the bank. We might even stick with this view. It might give us a little bit of a better idea of that first hectic corner that I was talking about when we were waiting for the stream to come up. So it's going to go green very shortly, so let's keep an eye out for that as it does. There goes the pace car. We're just waiting for the light to go out. As it does, there goes the pace car. We're just waiting for the light to go out. And here we go, we're on a red and the light has gone out and we have gone racing. And we're just having a look here as they head down into turn one. Everyone's going to compress. This field's going to close up very quickly and there is a lot of congestion in that mid pack. Have a look at that as we do have David Sanford out into the lead in his BMW and he is attempting to cut and run as we expected as the group compresses. Look at them go, 3 wide down in and there is an incident in at turn 2. 2 of the cars ahead off. We will come back to that and have a look at that when we can. This field is starting to try and spread out at the front here. We've got Sanford, Hills, Curry and Ball all occupying the top 4 positions and jostling for position as we head down to that second hairpin. There's some deep dives going on down in the pack as it is David Sanford who is well and truly out and trying to get away from the hustling pack coming up behind him here. So fantastic start there from him as we will jump right on board with the chopper cam and just follow him around this banking here. And what a great view. Wanting to stick nice and close to that yellow line if you can. Definitely the quickest way around this track. Just try and give you a little bit more of the car sound there. Obviously it changes as we get down into camera 1 into that quick chicane in the middle of the NASCAR or the oval circuit track there and back out onto it to bring us around to complete lap 1. And just having a quick look through the incidents here, and yeah, there was about 4 cars, Grant, Beecroft, Castagna and Poon, who were involved in that crash that we did see on the first lap of this race. So hopefully they can get back around, get to pit lane and get themselves back on deck. So we jump on board with Dave Sanford, who's first lap time out, 1:51.44, opening up a 2-second lead over Zane Hills a little further back. I am going to jump back into this pack here because this is where all the action is at. We've got 4 cars, Hills, Curry Ball and Cleland all in close proximity to one another, and there's plenty of action going on back through the field here. I'm going to have 4 sets of eyes on the screen just to try and get an idea of where the battle packs are. As we just see on our timing monitor here, a few more accidents with Bullerman, Bryant and Patterson all coming unstuck together. They were battling in the mid-pack. So we end up having a few non-starters actually. We had around about 8 cars not end up starting on this grid, even though the grid had 43 on it. So that explains the change at the top of the grid as we were watching it here, as it looks like Caleb Curry is going to try and put a move on down into the fast chicane and not quite be able to get it done there. Makes a wise move, as it was, I think, Jimmy Ball there going off in the background. And it's yeah, a hectic start for us at the top of the show here. So we'll just bring up now the ticker across the top of the screen, which will give you the information about where your favourite driver is running in this field. So that should pick itself up and start showing you that information shortly. And at the moment, we are looking like we are on a 30-minute race or 100 laps, whichever comes first. Given the average lap time around here of about a minute, certainly not expecting 100 laps, more looking at around about 2 minutes, so looking at around about a 15 to 20 lap race here, so shouldn't be any need for a pit stop from these drivers. Just jumping back on board here with the fastest man on the track at the moment, which is Dave Sanford, so our race leader. Timing screen here just being a little bit affected by the number of cars that are in the pits, so I'll keep an eye on Sanford, who is actually our effective race leader in that fantastic looking blue Z4 BMW, M4 BMW, my apologies. So we've got Kevin Vu I'm jumping on board with now, who is joining us from the USA. So this is a home race for here. We have a good mix of nations represented in this race. So he is jumped on board in the Ferrari and currently sitting in, I believe, 8th position at this point in time. So jumping a little bit further back, just looking at these battle packs here where we do have 3 or 4 cars in a cluster, and trying to bring you some of that coverage where we can. So you can see there on the top of the screen, just on 24 minutes to go. That timing monitor hasn't picked up yet, but there is a lot of information for it to process. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a boot along, and we'll just see if we can get that to come up on screen. So temporarily that information will just disappear, and we'll see if we can get it revised and updated. So Graham Smythe in this little battle pack here has just done a fastest sector 5 and is closing in on the back of Elliot Osborne. He's just under half a second behind him, so particularly if he can do that in the draft, he will, as we come back around onto the banking, he should be able to make a challenge for position there with that one. So that overlay just not wanting to play there, so I'm just going to quickly rearrange some things on the screen here, and that way we can give you all the information that you really need to see. And get back on deck. So that one there not doing us too many favours either, actually. So what do you do? Not a lot. Alright, so that's just rebooting itself there now, which is great. And let's see if we can get you back into where we would prefer to be. No, but look, it doesn't matter for the minute. I can keep you up to date. We are still getting updated information here. I think it's literally just the size of this field, 43 cars, and it's just trying to process all the information. So, effective race leader still is Dave Sanford. He is 2.91 seconds up the road from Zane Hills, who is sitting in this battle here. Look at this as they're too wide, heading down into the first corner, and they get through cleanly there, keeping their distance there. And Zane Hills there in doing a great job in the making a pass there to move up into second place in the Rush Sim Racing sponsored Z4 BMW. So he has moved up in a second, but there looks like there's going to be a challenge here for an undercut. And is that going to stay clean there? Yes, it is on the inside, but Zane on the better line here to keep that pass. As we head down towards the back end of the track. They'll head back up here. He'll try and maintain his line on the inside. For those of you who did join us for the early part, this is the fence section I'm talking about, so you want to get it turned in as early as you can and get back on the gas, but try and hold things true as he heads back out onto the track. So cars still running through the pits here. There's been plenty of off tracks. There's been lots of things going on a little bit further back in the field, but we want to stick with this battle here, which is where the draft, Caleb Curry using the draft here, but Hill's defending very well on the inside there as we go down into that chicane along that back straight, and we head back out onto the embankment to take ourselves around to finish this fifth lap or to commence the fifth lap of this race. So these two still at it, heading down into the first turn, and Carey taking the better part of Valor there and jumping on the brakes, probably trying to set up another run down the inside here with Zane Hills having to carry a little bit of extra speed to make sure that he is able to get that car turned into turn one. So he's heading down here, very defensive line going into turn 3, and able to carry turn 4, my apologies, and able to carry a little bit of extra speed back out of that corner. As we head down to the sweeping left-hander before heading onto the brakes again and getting it done. We might jump on board with Zane and actually just have a little watch of this battle from the rear of this BMW. Here there, the car just breaking traction. Okay, Scotty, thanks for joining us, mate. Yeah, things are going along fine. We have a field of 43 cars in this split, so very busy start to the race with lots of action and plenty of off tracks. Just focused in on the battle for second place here between Zane Hills and Caleb Curry, who have been trading places for the last couple of laps. Getting through that fast section there. Should be able to see the effect of the draft here. There was 43, Scotty, on the grid tonight, so a full grid, and certainly could have had more. The should see the effect of the draft here with Curry likely to pull up right onto the back of Hills in this BMW in the draft. Probably won't be able to execute a pass, I don't think, given the position on the track, as we're just about to cross the start-finish line. There it was there. And head into the braking zone here. Carry lots of pace, brake late and deep, and turn the car back in as Carey has pulled right up on the back as we expected. A great view for us here as the spectators. And once again, you've got Hills taking that defensive line just to defend into the first right-hander. If Curry can get up on the inside, oh no, and Hills just closes the gate there. He's too experienced for that. If Curry was trying to get up onto the outside there to manage to be able to carry the race line down into the turn and execute or close out the pass that he was trying to make there. So great racing from these two guys. Got a little bit of a close battle here, a bit further back, just jumping on board here with Tom Corbett and Xavier Simmons. This one almost as close, or just as close actually, as the gap at the front there between Hills and Curry. This battle, I've been keeping an eye on the timing monitor, and it's been going on for a little while now. A little bit of a run wide there for Simmons as he tries to get this done. And Ian Bevan has jumped onto the back of this group of cars as well. So these three Mercedes-Benz, my apologies, it's actually a lapped car in the back there. These two cars battling it out for 11th and 12th respectively on the grid as we speak. On board now with Travis Castagna, and we've caught Lance Childs there having a wild moment out on the grass as they too head down through the gate and out onto the Daytona section, or the oval track section of this raceway. There's about 3/4 of a second between these two in a battle for 19th and 20th, and I can tell you they'll battle just as hard as if they were battling for the lead of the race. And it does look like we've had an issue here. So Dave Stanford there just dropped out of our timing monitors for a minute. No real issues to speak of other than the fact that he is 5 seconds up the road and well and truly in command of this round 2 race at Daytona International. Doing a great job, has led from the very first corner. So as he jumped back place here to Zane Hills and Caleb Curry, these two still battling it out for 3rd and 4th. We've got Cleland in the first of the Ferraris, dividing up a solid wall of Bavarian Motorworks in his Ferrari there, closing in on position 27, so a lap car there that he'll be wanting to use the draft from a little bit, but get past as quickly as he can. A little bit further back, Nathan Anderson in another of these oval BMWs, and it looks as well like he too is sponsored by Rush Sim Racing, so great to see them getting on board with a couple of the drivers here too, as well as thanking them for their sponsorship of this series. Another one right behind him, so the BMW very popular, and Kevin Vu, who we did give a bit of coverage at the moment, giving him a little bit of airtime as well. And yeah, I think you're right there, Camo 1187, the BMW is the quickest in this field, and what he's talking about there is is iRacing do adjust the balance of power between these cars by either adding a little bit of extra weight or taking some power out, or maybe a bit of both, adjusting maybe minimum tyre pressures they can run to enable people to set the cars up as they work out the parity between these. And it looks like Kevin Vu is he was just about to stick his nose down there and probably have it chopped off, unfortunately. So a wise move from him to just jump on the brakes there to pull that one back out and go again this lap. So the BMW is the quickest of these cars at the moment. They did make some recent adjustments to the Audi as well, taking around 5 kilos of weight out of that vehicle, so it'll be interesting to see if anyone bothers spending the time. The Audi is struggling a little bit in a straight line in comparison to these cars, so if anyone's going to take the time to work that out and see if they can get that one a little bit further up the grid. So as we spoke about Kevin Vu, we've got Graham Smythe behind him in the twin cars with Elliot Osborne right behind him in the sister to that one. Can't quite pick up the sponsor that they're running there. I think it says Drago, so thank you to them for jumping on board a couple of our cars. Back to Tom Corbett, who is currently rounding out our top 10 in the first of the Mercedes-Benz. This battle here between Hills and Curry still going on, and it's going to jump on the gearbox again. We'll just have a quick look at how close it is. So it's still under 2/10, so we should see here that this is going to close up as they head down into this chicane, running too wide. That's not going to necessarily fit there as they go across the start-finish line, and Hills does have the preferred line once again. So just see if we can get the crisscross happening and Curry can get back down the inside here. Hill's driving really well under the extended pressure being applied to the rear bumper of that BMW. You notice there the numbers on the windscreens of the drivers do represent their track position at the last time they crossed the start-finish line. So obviously shown there with Hills actually in second place and leading this little pack, the 03 on his windscreen. There's Curry moving around all over the place, trying to find a way around the Hills BMW. They're in the same car, but to him at the moment it would feel like the Hills BMW was 3 feet wider, with just no opportunity to pass. However, as we come back around onto the banking section of the track, this is going to be, I feel, his best opportunity to get the job done. We'll jump back onto the rear of the Hills BMW and you'll see there, as we jump back on, how close it is behind them here, and I think he's going to probably get the job done. But no, it's just that inside line going down into the chicane. As you see, Curry pull back in behind Hills again. He really needs to stay right on the back of him here to get the draft and try and jump down the inside heading into turn 1 as they round to complete another lap. We've got 12 minutes to go in this one, so around about 6 laps for him to try and get the job done. Dave Sanford has head off into the sunset. He is now 7 seconds in front of this pair. Pratt and View are still going in their battle for 6th and 7th place respectively as well, so we will jump back onto that one. Just falling away a little bit there, Curry. Not too sure what happened there. We didn't see him drop off too much, so he just mustn't have got as good a tow up the straight, and that's given Hills a very small amount of breathing room. Very, very small amount of breathing room, as we're still under half a second between these two cars, giving us some fantastic racing at the moment. So as we're still on the bank section of the track there, I've just been informed that Anderson and Guptill have had a coming together as well. They are a little bit further down the field, so we won't jump across to the replay of that one, as we have seen Hills there defending Curry right up next to him on the back straight, but still not quite able to get the pass done. He has to be on the inside line heading down into turn 1. There's a little bit of a gap there. He's trying to get it done if he can. He just won't get the shot from the slipstream, or will he? He's in the front again. He's going to be just in front heading into the start-finish line here. But just not enough to be able to close. Oh, no, he is. He's dropped the brake late. Can he carry it through? He's run wide and left the door open. It was a good try from him to run that car wide and just see if he could pull it up and get it back turned in. But the car not quite wanting to play there, and that's meant Hills can continue to defend on the inside line of, or the preferred racing line of the track, and keep that BMW of his 5, 6, probably 8 foot wide now by the time we get round to the end of this. Just seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger, with Curry unable to do anything about it. So while these two keep battling it out, I'm just going to jump back here to Elliot Osborne, who is being pursued still by Tom Corbett in the fastest of our Mercedes-Benz. We do also have this battle here with a good, it's a lap car there in the 25, but Kevin Vu getting it done ahead of Callum Pratt, as these guys head around out onto the bank section of the track with 9 minutes to go in this feature race. 43 cars, yes, you heard me right, 43 cars started this race. So jump back on here again with Hills and Curry. They're still going at it as they just come out of the chicane on the back straight. of the Daytona International and head around again. And once again, a little bit of time dropped off there for Curry. He's just not able to carry the speed, I think, through the chicane that Hills can. Or maybe he's using it as a strategy to try and get that last slingshot up. But Hills' car cemented down on the inside line of the track here. Defending. Trying to, a little bump there as well from Curry on Hills. Just a little hello, I'm still here, I'm still trying. And if you make a mistake, if you slip wide, I will slip by and take second place from you. It's a great battle from these two for us here tonight. Dave Sanford out in front, still very much the fastest man on track at the moment. He is leading this one by 8.7 seconds now, so just encroaching on 9 seconds out in front. So certainly his for the taking if he can keep this up until the end of the race. Captivated by this battle for second and third. Just out to just over a quarter of a second gap, but that is rapidly coming down as the tow helps Caleb Curry close up yet again on the back of Hills. This stage feel like it may well take a mistake from Hills for the job to get done here. We're starting to get into a little bit of lap traffic, but doing very well on the banking there to just move right out of the way and let these two continue their battle. So as we cross the start-finish line, got to go through, and 6 minutes 40 left, so anticipating at this stage around about maybe 5 laps to go. So manages to close right back up on him here as well, Curry. So just gets a little bit better drive out of that corner, not having to defend right on the inside line there. Which means he can close up on the back here as they head through the mid portion of this track. Still defending, still very aware of the fact that if he runs it wide or makes a mistake, that's all Curry's going to need is that door to be slightly ajar before he shoves the nose of that BMW down the inside to try and take that second position. Fantastic racing from these two, with only the slightest of touches between them a couple of laps ago. Still doing a fantastic job in bringing us some nice close racing without any issues or damage to speak of. So at the end of this little section, we will jump off and have a look at a couple of our other battles that we've been keeping an eye on. I've noticed that Kevin Vu has slipped down the list a little, so he must have had it off track. As we just wait and see what these two can do in this one. Just closing up, and just losing a tiny bit of the draft there. He's pulled into the pits. Both of them have come into the pits, so I wasn't sure whether or not this would need to happen, but it is. We've got our front 4 cars now all in pit lane with 5 minutes to go. So obviously short filling the fuel tanks there, or short capacity fuel tanks there as part of the way the race is organised. So we are going to get a full range of pit stops here. This is going to be wild with this many cars jumping into pit lane and then out again. It's only a splash and dash. Our race leader Dave Sanford already back out on his way with a total pit lane transit time of 34.6, stationary time of 7.52 there. So Zane Hills has managed to create a gap through the pit stop of 3 seconds over Caleb Curry, and good pit management there, you think would see Curry unfortunately now out of the race for third position with only 4 minutes to go. Stranger things have happened, but that's a big gap for him to make up there. It gives us an opportunity to take you a little bit further back through the pack. Nathan Anderson doing a fantastic job here in 4th place. He has done his pit stop as well, making up a little bit of time on that pit stop. So it's just about 7 seconds behind 3rd place there. So and relatively secure in 4th, with Cleland running 5th, around about 3.5 seconds further back down the road in that 488 Ferrari. Elliot Osborne also has not yet transited the pit lane, so expect to see him come in this lap, and we will see that position and that of Braden Phillips adjusted, as neither of those drivers have carried out their required pit stops. Just a little pass there on with the Cleland car. Just waiting to see. Elliot Osborne should pull into pit lane here. Kevin Vu right behind him. It may well be that Kevin actually transited the pit lane early, and yeah, I've just picked that up. Actually, he did. So his drop down the order was actually that he did his pit stop on lap 12, one of the earlier pit stops that we have seen. So expect him to move back up the order there. As you can see, the 43 car of Braden Phillips jumping into pit lane, and that Kevin Vu there has moved up back into 7th place. To try and potentially resume his battle with Callum Pratt, who, as you can see there, is just up the road. Just around 3/4 of a second difference there between those two. So it has opened up a little bit for us up the front here, with Dave Sanford well and truly in control of the race, 7, nearly 8 seconds still out in front. And then a gap between Zane Hills in 2nd place of about 3 seconds, back to Caleb Curry. So 2 minutes to go here. We'll jump on with our race leader and give him some airtime, as we haven't had a lot to talk about with him because he's just cut and run. So if you join us here, there was a fair bit of mid-track action at the start of this one, and we've now had a raft of pit stops completed by all of the drivers, with just Elliot Osborne, it looks like, who hasn't pitted so far, and the Sanford driven BMW has controlled this race from start to finish. Our pole sitter, and what looks like, which will be his next lap, will be the last lap around, our eventual race winner. Zane Hills comfortably now in 2nd place, and Caleb Curry, who had harassed the back of that Hills BMW for a majority of this race, sitting comfortably in 3rd. So Dave Stanford here is on the last lap of this race. He's about halfway around the circuit now, and we'll head out through the gap in the wall, back out onto Daytona Oval Circuit for the last time, as we wind the clock down to what will be basically the conclusion of a very exciting 25-minute sprint race here. 43 cars on this grid. An amazing turnout. Well done to all of the drivers that ventured out. And apologies to those who did miss out on a split 1 grid spot, with the grid being oversubscribed here at Daytona. Just 43 spots on the grid for the drivers to form up on. So hopefully we'll see all of you back next week, those extra drivers, where we will have more capacity on track, hopefully, to take you all through. And there it is. Dave Sanford takes the win in this round 2 of the NZ Sim Racing GT3 series, brought to you by Rush Sim Racing, and broadcast for you here on FGM ECast. We would say the best place for you to view motorsport, iRacing motorsport, and your e-sports in general. So congratulations to the man on screen for taking the win. Zane Hills taking out a very well-earned second place in his BMW, the Rush Sim Racing sponsored BMW there. And Caleb Curry equally a great drive into third in that BMW of his. Fastest lap for the race as well does go to our race winner with a 46.12, and that is Dave Sanford, the man on screen now. We're going to get any post-race celebrations. We'll just stick on with him here and see. Certainly entitled to them. He's driven a fantastic race. Managed to avoid some of those mid-race events or early race events, which will try and bring you the crash just at the start of the race there. Don't go anywhere too far. We will bring our race winners, if we can, into the com box here and have a chat with them. And they're just getting in there now, which is fantastic. So we'll bring them in. We're just waiting for Zane Hills to jump on board, and we'll get those guys in and have a chat with them. Just let them get around and finish their last laps around the track here. So we are on again next week, and we will be on live from from 8 p.m. New Zealand time, 6 Australian, and wherever you are around the world as your reference time. It looks like Dave's going to give us some party laps here. We'll just jump on the helicopter view. And no, he's pulled that one into pit lane, having taken a shortcut. So, all right. So let's get the winners of the race in here, and I'll just bring them on board. Joining me is Dave Sanford, our race winner here for round 2 of the GT3 series. Welcome to the Combox here, Dave. A fantastic race, well driven, and we're also joined by Caleb Curry, our third place contestant or driver in this race as well. Congratulations on the race win, Dave. How did you find it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I knew it was just important to get away from Zane at the start, because at this track, if you get tied up with the draft and stuff, then they're always going to catch you from the bus stop to turn 1. So I knew it was important right at the start to get a good start, make the break, and by the first time we got onto the oval, I was 2 seconds ahead. So after that, not trying to be cocky, but I knew I was going after that. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, we did talk about in the pre-race how important it was going to be with 43 cars coming down into turn 1 for whoever it was who managed to get on pole to cut and run and really try and get out of whatever mess was potentially going to happen behind them. And the three of you did that, and then you certainly got away as Zane Hills and Caleb battled for second and third place. So congratulations on not only pole position, fastest lap as well, but also taking out the race win.
Yeah, thanks for that, mate. I appreciate it. The actual pole position, Shane, I don't know what happened to him. He left when we were gridding up and stuff. So I think it would have been a good battle with me and him. And unfortunately, he disconnected on me. So that's all good. Maybe next week he'll show up.
Maybe we'll see it next week.
Yeah, exactly.
And Caleb, a fantastic battle from you, mate. You were doing a little bit of Morse code on the back of Hill's car there for a fair bit of the race, and just in the pit stops there, losing a couple of seconds to unfortunately get a little bit far away from you there.
Yeah. I'm a bit out of my league. I'm a dirt driver in real life, so I have no idea about the circuit racing thing, so I just jump on here and have a bit of fun. I think he just got the fuel number a bit better. I was trying to do it while I drive and playing with buttons and all sorts. So it was just a disaster.
Yeah, I can relate to that. It can be difficult to work it out while you're driving, and then to try and change it while you're driving, unless you can get it set up that it's easy for you to do. But you certainly didn't look out of place at all. Fantastically close driving. I think the biggest gap we saw between the two of you was around about 3/4 of a second. No, it was really good racing and really good to watch from our perspective and bring to the viewers.
Yeah, no, it was pretty fun. It's always good battling where we was, not like old Sanford out front, just lonely up there. But I wish I managed to get past Zane at the start and kind of run with Sanford. we were sitting in Discord chatting, me and Sanford talking about it, and that just oh well, shit happens. We'll go on next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking forward to bringing the broadcast back next week as well. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. Races well driven.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
So at this point in time in our broadcast, it certainly would be remiss of us not once again to thank our marquee sponsor for the NZ Sim Racing GT3 series here at Daytona International, Rush Sim Racing. So if you are looking at getting into sim racing, a great place to go down and get some laps in and give it a try. Looking for somewhere to host, potentially catch up on some of those parties that may have been missed out as a result of COVID. Head down there and organise a time, or even just to catch up with your mates and do a race. They've got everything that your mind could potentially wish for in sim racing with motion platforms. They've got VR down there that you can try, and they also have SimWorks equipment, which is just about as good as, if not is as good as it gets in the sim racing world. From our perspective, also our sim partners, we do need to thank AFTERSHOCK PC, an Australian-based PC and high-performance PC builder who do ship as well. So if you are in the market for a new PC, do head down there to AFTERSHOCK AU or aftershockpc.com.au, I should say, and jump on board and have a chat with the guys there. I am sure they will sort you out. We are a Razor streamer. We do stream just about 5 nights a week, albeit we are in our down week this week. So do join us on Saturday evening, where we will be streaming a mixture of VR and also observed, commentated racing from the Nürburgring, where 981 Motorsport, our motorsport team, will be running in the Nürburgring 6-hour event on Saturday evening. And then we do resume our full normal schedule next week, kicking off on Tuesday with the Australian Pro-Am Sim Racing Series live from Phillip Island. That's 7:10 Australian time, before we head into Retro Wednesday with Reese and Stu, where you will get to watch us probably lose just about any game we play, but have a good time doing it, and back out on to following that the ANSCAR 87 series. There are still spots in that series if you are interested in driving in some of the fastest NASCARs ever alive, without risking your life doing so, because they were extraordinarily sketchy but great fun to drive on the iRacing platform. Thursday, the Australian Endurance E-Series does resume, following on from this broadcast. So we will go straight out of this GT3 series into the AEE series next week. So that will be a long comm session for us, which I am really looking forward to. Number of driver changes, new entrants, new cars, and really looking forward to bringing you that race as we get that started. And then the big one on Friday, we launch our IndyCar series, the Oz New Zealand IndyCar series, running the Pro Mazda support category and the IR Dallara 18. We do still have grid spots available in both of those events, so if you are keen, jump on our website, FGMECast.com, and submit your application, and we will get you sorted out with a spot on the grid for that event. Well, what a whirlwind. Again, apologies for the issues at the start of the stream there. It does happen. It will all be sorted for next week when we join you again on this Thursday evening for the New Zealand Sim Racing GT3 series. Thanks very much for watching. We will catch you then.